morning, guys. It's me, Butterfly Spirit 314. So, today, guys, what I'm going to be doing here, guys, is that I'm going to be giving you guys a more deeper view into the Jasmine I did into my introduction to pole class. So, I did post a video short of myself in class, and I was doing the Jasmine pole move. I did it once on the right and once on the left. So the Jasmine is basically a move where you hold yourself up on the pole, and that's what the goal is. I feel like when it comes to the Jasmine, I feel like most of the part of my body that is really that's holding me up is really going to be, I would say it's mostly my legs that are really doing a lot of the work, but my arms are doing, like, one of my arms is doing some of the work, and then, my legs is doing the remaining lifting to basically keeping me upright and on the pole. Okay. So, what does it feel like to do the Jasmine? Well, one thing I will say when it comes to the Jasmine and why I feel like my legs do a lot of the work is because basically I'm wrapping one of my legs, so my leg that's closest to the pole, around to the back of the pole. And what's happening is that I have to basically have the pole, basically, it's in the, like, the basically the crease of the back of my knee, and I have to basically squeeze, basically squeeze the pole in order to, like, basically to hold myself up. Okay. And it's not just one leg that is doing the work, my inside leg, is also my outside leg as well. That's why I feel like those two of my legs are doing the most work, also because after that video where I did the Jasmine, my legs were sore. And where was it sore? The back of my legs. So the back of my right leg and also my left leg was sore too, because that's a move I feel like where my legs are doing a lot of the lifting. My arms, one of my arms is slightly doing, they're not really taking on much of the weight. It's more like it's my legs and maybe my core that are really doing the work in that move in particular. But I don't feel like my core really was bothered as much as like my legs were. So if you can think about metal, like a metal pole being behind like your dominant leg, and you have to squeeze it, that's what it feels like. So when I have like soreness behind my legs, what it means is it's because of the fact that I had to squeeze the pole really tight in order to do that particular move. Okay. So it's not really a cold metal. I mean, different poles have a different temperature. To me, it's not so much that the pole felt cold or anything, because my body was warmed up and the pole was warmed up too. It's just the fact of, knowing there's a metal pole that I'm wrapping my body around. So the pole isn't the one doing the work. I'm the one wrapping around the pole. When I do pole moves, I'm doing it around the pole or on the pole, you know, and I'm basically, I'm using my body to go around the pole, or, like where I am, it's like I'm doing art using the pole. Yeah, it's like that. The pole doesn't go anywhere. I do things to, in relation to the pole and on the pole. Okay. So that's what it's like. Feeling the pole behind my leg, it really, it feels like a hard, metal surface, like basically squeezed against, like I'm squeezing my skin against and wrapping my skin around. That's what it really feels like. The pole is, of course, it is very smooth. So it's not like bumpy or anything. It's like a very like it is definitely like no bumps in it. It's definitely like has like a smooth texture to it, but it's also has a hard texture to it as well and stuff. And it has to be. And the thing about pole dance poles is that they have to be able to accommodate the weight of the person that's getting on the pole and stuff. So different poles can accommodate different types of weight. Now I will say the pole that I was practicing on is made of a different metal than the other pole that I practice on at the other studio. Okay, even though they both look like silver poles, they're not made out of the same metal. They are not. Also, they are made from different brands too. So at the studio that you guys see me at during the day on Sunday, that particular pole at that studio, that one I believe. Oh, the brand, not the material. But they're yes, both two different metal poles. But um, one of the poles is an X pole. So at that studio on Sunday, that one's an X pole and stuff. And then the pole that I'm currently practicing on, that kind of pole is made by I think is Denier, I think, or Denzier, I think is the name of that pole. Now, the X pole, that pole in particular, that is a well trusted brand across the pole community and stuff. So the ideal pole for a lot of people to really be on is going to be an X pole because they've established themselves as a pole brand. The same thing that goes with when I get my pole dance heels. I have pleaser pole dance heels. Okay, pleaser or pleasers. These are heels that are known across the pole dance community as being heels that many women will buy because of the reputation that pleaser has. And I like the name pleaser. To me, I really love that name and stuff. Now, there are other brands of pole dance heels, just like there's other brands of poles, but that signature brand that everybody knows, like for poles, is going to be X Pole. That signature brand everybody knows when it comes to pole dance heels or shoes is going to be Pleaser. Like that's what people like. Those are the two kind of names of like um, that people know in the pole dance community. Okay. In terms of the Jasmine and I was not struggling to do a Jasmine. I think when I was unsure about how to move my back leg, I think that's where I was kind of a little confused. That's why I was talking to my teacher and asking her, like, okay, where do I put my leg? In front of the pole, behind the pole? Because she was teaching us a new way to get into a Jasmine. And I was still taking time to process it. That's what I'm trying to say. Process it. so, um, so um, basically, it was easy for me to get into a Jasmine and stuff. I felt quite comfortable. I felt so comfortable with it that I did it a lot. It was kind of like I was kind of showing off a little bit. Now, when I was doing my Jasmine and I actually was turned away from you guys, I actually had to turn myself around. And the thing about pole dance poles is typically these particular poles, um, so a pole can either be on a mode called spin or it can either be on a mode called static. So static is where the pole doesn't move. And then spin is where the pole it basically spins. Okay. And when I was doing the Jasmine, I was on the static mode of the pole. And the reason is that typically when someone is a beginner and they're starting their pole journey and stuff, it's best for them to be on a static mode where basically the pole doesn't move. And you basically, if any movement is happening, you're moving your body and your body is going around the pole on its own. And it takes strength to be able to move yourself. Like when I turn from looking away, like doing the Jasmine away from you guys, and I had to turn myself around. That was me actually turning my body around on the pole. The pole was not on spin mode, it was on static mode where it was standing still. And then I had to move my body around the pole to face you guys. And that took some movement, okay, on my part to be able to do that, okay. Now there are people who are beginners who probably can't do that. I didn't know I could do that or had the strength to do it, but I did. So it was really me thinking about it first, of turning myself around in the pole without coming out of the pole move, and then actually doing it was another thing, okay. In terms of other people in my class, you guys may be like, how did other people do with the move? Well, I feel like there were people who, the people I was kind of paying attention to, um, I feel like people kind of understood it in the class and stuff like that and things and stuff. I think there was one girl who was kind of struggling with it or something like that to do the Jasmine and stuff. But that's when we were like being taught how to do it. Okay. So that was kind of what was going on there. For me, my muscles weren't shaking. I wasn't going to fall off the pole or anything like that. It wasn't that way. Now, when I'm coming out of a Jasmine onto the floor with one of my feet and stuff and coming off the pole, like I'm wrapping myself off the pole from the Jasmine move, that's when I will say it feels a little bit awkward to do that because I have to unwrap myself from the pole. And it feels a little awkward because I have to like let one of my feet find the floor and then let the other one come down and find the floor and stuff. And that might be why it looks a little awkward, because it feels a little awkward for me to get it down to it because I have to like place my feet back onto the floor in one particular way. Okay, so yeah, um, so that is a thing. um, so I'm trying to think if there's anything else about the Jasmine. No, it doesn't put strain on my arms or anything like that. Mostly, what happens though is that my arms do definitely help me in the pole move and stuff like that, because I do have to position one of my arms like down the pole and the other one above my head. So that definitely takes some doing in order to kind of get into it. I think my arms are more like they're more stabilizing me, and then my legs are doing more of the lifting of me. Okay. So that in particular is a thing. When we were learning the Jasmine, I don't believe there was any music on, or if there was, I really wasn't paying attention to it anyway, because I was more focused on, talking to my teacher and doing a portion of that video and just kind of making sure that I was doing it the right way. And she said, "Oh, you're doing it very nice," and I was happy that she liked it. I will say, I felt I didn't feel as comfortable, I think, doing it on the left side of the pole as I did on the right side of the pole, I guess, because I think when it comes down to it, or maybe it's reversed, I felt it was easier for me to do it on the left side of the pole than it was on the right side of the pole. So for pole dancers, we have you know, we have a good side and kind of a bad side. So, and because I'm at the beginning of my journey, so what we have to do when we do pole dance moves is we have to train both sides. So we have to do it on the right side of the pole and do a move, and then we have to do it, go around to the other side of the pole or the left side and do the same move. And the reason is because we're trying to balance out our bodies so that regardless of whether we do a pole dance move on the right side of the pole or the left side of the pole, then we're able to do it. And I'm talking about our bodies in relation to the pole. So if my body's positioned on the right side of the pole, then I'm doing a move on that side. If I'm positioned to the left of the pole, then I'm doing the move on the left side of the pole. Okay. And I pretty much usually favor my right side when I do pole dance moves. It's like the first side I like to train is the right side. But in particular, I think this time when I was doing the Jasmine, the left side was easier than the right side and stuff, and things. But I'm surprised by that because usually it's I usually like doing moves on the right side. You guys notice from a lot of my videos, I typically go for the right side first and then do moves on the left side. The left side is usually the one that feels the most awkward to me, but that's because it's my weaker side. So my right side, of course, I'm right-handed. So basically, anything I do on the right side feels more natural. Anything I do on the left side is going to feel awkward and weird because if I'm doing stuff with my left hand, this is my left hand, then it feels weird to me, you know. And pole dancers have a good side and a bad side. Now, one thing that pole dancers do is there are some pole dancers where they will only do a move on the side that there is their dominant side that they like doing it, and then when they progress up the ranks, and let's say they have to do a routine and they have to do it on their weakest side, that's gonna be it's gonna be noticeable because they haven't trained that side, and for some pole dancers they haven't trained that side in years. And the thing is, when we're learning pole dance moves, we have to do it on both sides of our body. You know, we have to do it on the right side when we're positioned on the right side of the pole, and then we have to do it on the same move on the left side of the pole to balance out our muscles and stuff. And pole dance is really about muscle memory and also about flexibility too. It's very much about flexibility. I'm like moving my wrist because I have some kind of like pain or something in um my uh my little wrist here. Anyway, I'm trying to think if there's anything else about the Jasmine that I can talk about. Um, hmm. I will say it does take some thinking when I'm going from doing one pole move to another. Let's say we're working on one pole move 5 minutes ago and then we moved on to another one. If I'm trying to remind myself of what a move we just did, sometimes I have to stand there and kind of think about it for a second. And that's because I'm still in that mindset where I have to think about pole moves and stuff like that. And also because I'm trying to do it right. I'm not trying to like do it wrong and all that stuff, you know. I'm trying to make sure I do it correctly and doing it with the right form, if you will. Okay. That's what I'm trying to make sure that I'm doing. Okay. And one great thing about the introduction to pole class too is that I like the fact that in this class in particular, I like the fact that I'm learning how to do the pole dance moves. Um, I'm doing them with more uh, by following the right technique to get into them. Okay, and that's what I like is learning the appropriate technique to get into the moves and not just kind of going into the moves in my own way, but learning how the instructor says to do it and stuff. Thinking about things that they're kind of saying as they're doing it, and what makes it easiest to do it, and stuff that really helps a lot is by like, and also the fact that in my introduction to pole class we go slow, so we will practice doing the same move several times before I even will like record it. The only time I won't practice the move multiple times is if I already got it. Like the Jasmine, I just kind of landed that, you know what I'm saying? So I was like, all right, cool, I got it, all right, let's record it. And I think that's helpful, right? Now, that's the one I'm going to talk about. There's another move I'll talk about maybe at a later date and stuff, but I feel like that's all I'm going to talk about for the Jasmine because I've been talking for like 19 minutes. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye bye.